Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles, where today, in this Tier 10 domination battle on the Land of Fire map, we join Nitrous 98 in the Trump Wagon, the USS Missouri. You know, it's funny when you call this ship the Trump Wagon, because you're going to upset absolutely everybody. You're going to upset the Democrats for glorifying Trump, and you're going to upset the Republicans for taking the piss out of Trump. It turns out you can actually have it both ways. So now, with one casual throwaway gag that I didn't even come up with, I've now managed to farm the maximum possible number of dislikes that it is possible to get on a World of Warships video. So with that out of the way, let's crack on with the battle. So, Nitrous 98 in the USS Missouri, Tier 9 Premium US Navy battleship. So what do you need to know about this ship? Well, if you have an Iowa, also at Tier 9, you basically know exactly what the Missouri is. To all intents and purposes, it's exactly the same ship with only a few, well, I'm not going to say minor differences, because the Missouri does get radar, and that's not a minor difference. But it also gets, well, what used to be an insane credit multiplier. It still has a very good credit multiplier. It's basically impossible to lose money in this thing, no matter how badly you do. But it doesn't quite print the insane amount of credits that it used to. And that, by the way, is why they call it the Trump Wagon, because it prints its own money. If you somehow manage to find a way to make less than 1 million credits per battle in this thing, you've done something extremely wrong. And that's not actually as impressive. I mean, 1 million credits per battle, you can do that in most premiums if you're running the various different high-powered economic boosters, and you have a good game. But before all of the economic boosters came into the game, the only way to guarantee getting more than 1 million credits in a battle was to play the Missouri. And Wargaming realised that they had kind of screwed up when they introduced this ship with the credit multiplier that it had. Missouri was originally the first ship in the game that you could buy for free XP, and it cost $750,000, 750,000. And Wargaming thought nobody's ever going to be able to save up that much free XP. And boy, they sincerely underestimated just how hard people were prepared to grind to get a ship that could earn over 1 million credits per battle. In fact, there were people who already had that amount of free XP accumulated because they played the game so often they'd already unlocked every ship in the game. So, yeah. Oh, team have just suffered their first casualty. Wow, how the hell does a Jaeger end up being the first one? Would that think stealth? Whatever. Well, anyway, the Missouri came out and it essentially broke the economy for anybody who owned it because of the just sheer amount of money that it earned every time you played it. Wargaming learned their lesson. The second free XP ship to come out was the Musashi, and that one was 1 million free XP, and it didn't get the Missouri's credit multiplier. But the Missouri was still in the game, and it was still earning stupid amounts of credits. And they really needed to do something about it. And of course, this was back in the days when Wargaming routinely pulled all kinds of shady shit. Well, that Iparanga's getting spanked. Oh, hell yes. Well, somebody else is going to finish him off. Nitrous tooting his horn there to let the Baltimore know. Watch where you're going, I'm in the way. And, well, yeah, okay. I mean, if the Baltimore eats any of those torpedoes, that one's on him. But he should be okay. Well, anyway, Wargaming hatched a nefarious plan to fix the Missouri's credit multiplier. 2 years after the ship originally came out, they re-released it. And of course, the new version of the Missouri was exactly the same in all respects, except it didn't get the original Missouri's credit multiplier. And so Wargaming, because at the time they routinely pulled this kind of shady shit, came up with a bullshit excuse to adjust the original Missouri's credit multiplier. Because now there's 2 Missouris in the game, and one of them doesn't earn the same amount of money as the other one. So in order to fix this problem, which nobody but Wargaming thought was a problem, they took away the original Missouri's built-in credit multiplier and instead replaced it with a repeatable combat mission. And they assured everybody that it would still earn the same amount of money as it did before. And absolutely nobody was surprised to discover that Wargaming were either completely incompetent or just outright lying. I mean, making the change wouldn't have been hard to do. They knew exactly what the ship's original credit multiplier was. They take that away from the ship and they put the exact same credit multiplier into the repeatable combat mission that replaced it. And so Wargaming were completely at a loss to explain as to exactly why it was that the Missouri was suddenly earning 25% less credits than it was before. They were, oh, did we? Oh, wow, how did that happen? we must have made a mistake. Yeah, right. Shut up and fix it. I mean, absolutely nobody fell for it. It's like Wargaming seriously expected people to not be able to tell the difference between 1,000,000 and 750,000. So anyway, it did eventually get fixed, although the ship was still earning just a little bit less, but close enough. Oh, hello, Megami. That's a very nice, flat, juicy broadside you've got there. And the Megami is made out of citadels. Shots out. And there's his first kill. So the team are ahead on kills. And with Nitrous and his buddies, the I-56 and the Baltimore here in this cap circle, they will very soon be equalising the number of caps that both teams hold, which means they should, in theory at least, very soon be going ahead on points. Situationally, I mean, they've nailed the Iparanga that was on this flank, but that's Cerberus, and there's an enemy submarine lurking around there somewhere. Oh, and they've killed the carrier. Nice. I mean, it's not quite a 200-point lead. The scores are reversed again, by the way. It's your typical replay bug. But they're about to take this cap. It's just that Cerberus back there who's being pinged. He is definitely going to be a problem. And there's an enemy submarine back up there somewhere too. However, have a look at the minimap all the way down to the southeast. Look at that Vermont. That Vermont is getting himself into a fantastic position. Nitrous is pinging the friendly Henri up ahead. He was getting way too close to all of those battleships. Oh, ping there from the enemy submarine. And he has been spotted. Drops a couple of depth charges on him. The Henri knows the trouble he's getting into. And he's taken steps to try to get into cover between those two islands. The problem is he can't just turn straight broadside on to do it, or he'll get paddled by all of those enemy battleships over there. But it looks like he's gotten away with it. Friendly Anhalt looks like he's going back to try to deal with the Cerberus and the submarine. Oil slick spotted. Nitrous just waiting for his depth charges to come off cooldown. Unfortunately, they have just suffered a casualty. The friendly Preußen's been sunk, tier 10 battleship down. And then the Lexington finishes off the submarine with his depth charges, which means that ping does absolutely nothing. But take a look at the Vermont. The Henri's getting spanked there. He's trying to disengage. He really probably should have stayed in between the... Oh, well, never mind. Too little, too late. Okay, they are now definitely behind on points, even if everything else is even. The number of kills and the number of caps. Oh, the Henri managed to get torpedoes away. Okay, good stuff. It wasn't a complete loss. But again, take a look at the minimap. Southeast corner. Look at where the friendly Vermont is. Oh, the Mecklenburg's... Wow, that could have been a lot worse. The Mecklenburg actually timed that one really well, just as Nitrous was pulling a turn. That could have been a lot worse. Because, just like the Iowa, the Missouri is not particularly well armoured. More shots coming in from the enemy Preußen. More shots coming in from, it looks like... Oh, that's going to be a Minotaur. Yeah, that rate of fire, and it's all armour piercing, there's a Minotaur over there. The good news, however, you see the Vermont over there? Because of the threat posed by that guy, I mean, that thing has a seriously large number of very high caliber guns, and none of those enemies want to turn to give broadside to him. Which means they've effectively got them all caught in a crossfire, because if you're not giving broadside to the Vermont, then you are giving broadside to Nitrous. And Nitrous, even though he is still getting pelted by that Minotaur, he is 100% going to be taking advantage of... Ooh, yeah. It's definitely taking advantage of that. Which means the Grosser Kurfürst now has to make a very, very tough decision. Who exactly are you going to give broadside to? And honestly, I think it's too late, and it doesn't actually matter. It looked like he was turning away from the Vermont, which means the Vermont's probably going to slap him. Shots out at the Preußen. He's burning, but he's doing all right. I'm not even sure whose high explosive was that. Was it the Mecklenburg? I don't know. But one fire isn't a problem. Oh, and speaking of the Mecklenburg, he just sank the Baltimore. Oh, that's a bit of a bummer. It's put the enemy team... Well, it's put them ahead again, but they're not that far ahead. I mean, there's only 30, 40 points in it. And it looks like, yep, there it goes. The Vermont just smashed the remains of the Grosser Kurfürst, which means the Preußen over there, he just ran out of friends. And is still caught in a crossfire, which means he should be next. And the Vermont is basically still on full health. I mean, that guy has done a great job down there. Remember, the Vermont is an incredibly slow battleship, so I don't know if that guy is either a tactical genius or he just made a very, very lucky guess. But either way, it's... Oh, shit, that looked like it hurt. Looks like the Chickamer's taking on the Mecklenburg. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that. Those are shots coming in from the Yamato. Yeah, the Preußen is done. And Nitrous is even saying in chat, there it is. Excellent crossfire there between the Vermont and the Yamato. And it really was. Like I said, either the Vermont's a tactical genius or he just made an incredibly lucky guess, because that thing is so slow. The Vermont captain making the decision early on, because you have to make it early on because it takes so long to get there, making that decision to move to that spot. If there hadn't been anything there for him to shoot at, he would have basically been useless for the entire game. But either lucky or genius, and the Preußen, yeah, you're dead. And there's kill number 2. And once again, they're ahead on points. But the Alaska over there, and also apparently the Minotaur and its smokescreen, have some shots in the air that are very quickly going to address that particular issue, because the Chickamer, who barely survived going up against the Mecklenburg, did not survive going up against the Alaska. However, Nitrous has an ace up his sleeve, because everybody forgets that the Missouri has radar. In fact, sometimes when I'm playing the Missouri, I forget that the Missouri has radar. But Nitrous hasn't forgotten it. It looks like the enemy Minotaur has. And he's letting the team know, hold on, as soon as I'm in range, I'm going to radar him, so get ready. And there it goes. Yes. And now the Yamato and the Vermont, and hopefully Nitrous himself, all have shots at a very light cruiser. He's turning. Oh, and the Vermont has shots in the air. That's going to hurt. Yeah, that really hurt. Now Nitrous has shots in the air just as he turns to give broadside from the other angle, and there's kill number 3, as well as the Confederate award. And you can tell straight away that Nitrous is using William Halsey as his captain, because upon earning the Confederate award with the Minotaur kill, that just activated one of Bill Halsey's talents, which has reduced the reload on these 16-inch main battery guns, just in time to pop some shots off against the Mecklenburg, who has just managed to sink the friendly carrier, which is a bit of a bummer. He does still have aircraft up though, so hopefully the carrier is going to use them wisely to spot, because there's an enemy destroyer, the Somme, in the cap circle at Alpha. And with the way things stand at the moment, well, Nitrous's team are 10 points ahead, but when you're trailing 2 cap circles, you ain't going to stay 10 points ahead for very long, so they must finish off this Alaska. Although that doesn't look like it's going to be too much of a problem. But they're also going to need to come up with a plan to recapture some cap circles. So the Vermont is going to head for Delta, which makes sense. That's a good call. I mean, he's going to have to head through Delta anyway in order... Oh, nice. I think the Citadel was a bit of an overkill, but hey, a kill's a kill. So that's kill number 4 for Nitrous. Unfortunately, I'm mystified to explain as to why the friendly I-56 thought it was a good idea to get up close and personal with a destroyer. I mean, the Somme isn't a particularly great destroyer, but sinking submarines is what destroyers are for. And the Anhalt, who went up there with him, I mean, you can kind of appreciate what the Anhalt is trying to do. Because of the Cerberus, I did say that Cerberus was going to be a problem. Left alone on the flank up there, he's almost certainly, if the Somme doesn't get the Anhalt, then the Cerberus will. Or the Mecklenburg, and the only reason the Mecklenburg will have popped up is because he's just shot at the Anhalt. And yeah. Okay, so. Right, it's 3 on 3. And they're 150 points behind with only 1 of the 4 cap circles. Nitrous there in chat. Yamato, stick with me. Good advice, because the last thing the Yamato wants to do is go up against a Cerberus and a Somme, both of whom are way stealthier and are on with torpedoes. The Vermont, still chugging his way up there to the northwest, very, very slowly because he's a Vermont, but he will, within the next minute or so, be inside the cap circle at Delta. And with all 3 surviving ships on the enemy team all the way over to the west... That's correct, Akazuki. I was explaining it to them. Give me a chance. There's no way any of the 3 surviving enemy ships are going to be in position to do anything about the Vermont from flipping that cap. Shots out at the Mecklenburg. You see, Nitrus's team have everything to play for now because the enemy team are ahead with 3 caps, although the Vermont is about to get into the cap at Delta, and Nitrus himself is heading up, because he's faster, to the cap at Bravo, up there to the north. Lexington still has aircraft up, which hopefully he's just using the spot. He's not going to waste them trying to sink something. He's wasting them trying to sink something. Which again you can kind of appreciate because, okay, the Vermont's in Delta, Nitrus is heading up to Bravo, but just equalising the caps when you're 200 points behind isn't going to be enough. There's slightly less than 5 minutes of this battle remaining. They need a kill. Once Nitrus and the Vermont have done their thing, with the Vermont at Delta and Nitrus at Bravo, they will have 3 of the cap circles. But with less than 5 minutes remaining and a 200 point deficit, they absolutely also need a kill in order to win. Nitrus did say to the Yamato, stick with me, didn't he? Where the hell's the Yamato going? He's there again in chat saying, look, don't split up. The Yamato appears to be heading to the cap circle at Alpha. Actually, looking at the Yamato on the minimap, I'm not sure what he's doing because now he's circling back away from it, which is sensible because there's an enemy destroyer over there. And the Yamato doesn't have a huge amount of health left. And it's possible, maybe even likely, that the Cerberus, which is also a lot stealthier than the Yamato, and now the Lexington's wasted his remaining aircraft, is not going to get spotted unless he chooses to, and is also armed with torpedoes. So that would be a very, very bad idea. Nitrus is in the cap circle at Bravo, though. Yeah, there we go. Wow, who'd have thought it? Torpedoes. Well, the Yamato's dodged them, though, so maybe he's capable of taking the hint. Except looking at the minimap, he does appear to be, once again, turning in towards the threat at Alpha. I mean, maybe he thinks he needs to take it, but he kind of does, but also kind of doesn't. He needs to stay alive and not die, and the team need to get another kill right after Nitrus takes the cap circle up here at Bravo. The Vermont has flipped the cap at Delta and is now sailing up as quickly as he can, which isn't very quickly at all, to provide fire support. What we need now is for the enemy team to make a mistake and to offer one of them up for a kill. And let's face it, it's probably going to be the Mecklenburg, because the Somme and the Cerberus ain't going to get spotted unless they make a serious error of judgment. There goes the radar. There's the Mecklenburg. Well outside of radar range, which means he must have just fired at somebody. Probably the Yamato, who is almost certainly being spotted by the Somme. Oh, and there's the Cerberus, which means he probably just shot at the Yamato as well. All kinds of reasons for the Yamato to be doing anything other than heading towards Cap Circle Alpha, because he's got 2 stealthy ships armed with torpedoes, waiting to give him a torpedo enema. The Mecklenburg, however, he really needs to stop shooting. I appreciate that in the moment it's difficult to actually be able to figure out what's going to happen in the next 2 minutes with this cap disparity, because there's a 150 point deficit here for Nitrus's team with 2 minutes to go. Can 3 cap circles make up that difference in 2 minutes? Honestly, I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. It's going to be really, really close, but I'll absolutely 100% guarantee you that if the Mecklenburg dies, it will be enough. From the Mecklenburg's perspective, though, he doesn't necessarily know, because I don't necessarily know, that his team are going to win on points by just holding on to that 1 cap. And it's entirely possible that he's figured, well, we probably do need another kill in order to guarantee the win. Which is correct. Another kill would guarantee the win. But at what cost? Because if you die trying to get that other kill, that's going to guarantee a loss. And with all 3 of them shooting at the Mecklenburg, I mean, you can appreciate the Mecklenburg assuming that, well, we need another kill. And he's not wrong, but you can't afford to die getting that kill. And with a Yamato, a Missouri, and a Vermont shooting at you, you're basically guaranteed to die before getting that kill. Oh, come on, 300 hit points. Whoever hits the Mecklenburg next is going to kill him. Nitrus is there in chat saying GG to the enemy team, whatever happens, because even Nitrus at this point doesn't know, and he is going to get the Mecklenburg, but even he doesn't know whether or not that's going to be enough. There's the Kraken Unleashed. There's the 5th kill. And that's put them ahead with 3 caps with less than a minute to go. Oh dear. Instead of doing what it was strongly suggested that he should do and stick together with the rest of the team, namely Nitrous, because the Vermont was capping Delta, the Yamato instead decided that it was a good idea to go chasing after destroyers and torpedo-armed cruisers. Newsflash. It really wasn't.
Acknowledged.
And so with 10 seconds to go, despite the 3 cap advantage, the scores have been flipped. The Cerberus reveals himself by taking a cheeky shot at the Vermont, and honestly at this point there's absolutely no risk to it because the battle ends with the enemy team winning by a mere 20 points before either the Vermont or Nitrous can do anything about it. And I have to admit, I feel kind of guilty including this in an episode of A Game of Throws because, I mean, yes, the Yamato threw it. Although you could argue that the Mecklenburg was also trying to throw it. But the Mecklenburg played a good game and just made that one understandable but bad decision to try to get another kill to guarantee the win because he didn't know whether or not the points advantage that they had was going to be enough. And the Yamato also played a good game. Look at the top 3 on each team. Missouri, Vermont, Yamato for Nitrous's team, and the Somme, Mecklenburg and Cerberus for the enemy team. The Yamato got more than 1,000 base experience on a defeat. You don't do that by playing badly. He played a good game. Right up until the point where he didn't. It's just that one decision made in the heat of the moment that seems like a good idea at the time. The Yamato's decision to go chasing down a destroyer. The Mecklenburg's decision to get that one more kill to guarantee victory. Seems like a good idea at the time. In reality, it's the kind of decision that gets you into an episode of A Game of Throws. We've all done it. Nevertheless, commiserations to Nitrous. Hope you all enjoyed watching him suffer, despite some Herculean efforts by himself and the Vermont to carry it at the end there. And as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.